All right, so welcome to the podcast, Mr. Anthony Wright. Anthony, I've known from the DMV area. He does stand-up comedy, and I asked him to join me on my podcast, Today in My Life. Anthony, can you introduce yourself, brother?
What's going on? This is Anthony Wright from the DMV. As King mentioned, man, I'm glad to be here. Me and King got a lot of history, man. He's been a big help to me. So thank you for welcoming me on the show, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. So me and you met, and if I get this wrong, let me know. We met at a mic, right?
Yeah, we did met at an open mic. I'm not sure which open mic. It might have been Nottingham's, but maybe it was another one.
It could have been Nottingham's. Now
maybe.
That's in Frederick, right?
Nottingham's. That's the one in Columbia.
Okay.
Columbia, Maryland. Yeah, it's kind of like a bar, and then in the back they have the lounge area. So
okay, got you.
Yeah.
Now, in the world of stand-up comedy, what is stand-up comedy to you?
Stand-up comedy to me is when you go up in front of a group of people and you entertain them and you make them laugh for maybe 5, 15, 30 minutes or even an hour, and you hold their attention. And that's essentially what stand-up comedy is, and not bombing, which is a big, thing to make sure you don't do, because you want them to come back and see you again. So, yeah. And here's a funny thing too. We're on video, right?
Yep.
And this is funny because I did not. I look very rough right now, so you have to excuse me. Like, we were just talking after this, and my man King. It's funny, like, King got a divorce, but I'm the one that looked like I just went through a divorce, and he looked like he's just happy and like going through life. But no, I'm glad to be here, man. But no, stand up, it's an art form. It's and it takes a lot of hard work and discipline. So yeah.
So everybody has a story of how they got into stand-up comedy. I'll share mine, and then I'd like for you to share yours. I got into stand-up comedy from a friend who is a veteran, and there's this nonprofit out there called the Armed Services Arts Partnership, and that nonprofit is set up and designed to get veterans into the arts. It's an amazing program. A buddy of mine had got into stand-up comedy and did it, and I'm like, I don't think stand-up comedy is for your boy, so I'm not gonna do that. But I tried improv first, and improv to me is great because, and the difference between improv and stand-up is that improv, it's like off the cuff, and it's you and at least one other person. It could be 2 or more, but that's improv. Whereas stand-up, the spotlight is on you to shine. After I did improv, I felt a little bit more confident about trying stand-up comedy after meeting a lot of people. And around the comedy area and the comedy scene, you'll meet somebody, and then you'll find out that that person knows somebody. And that's kind of how stand-up comedy works as far as with networking. I got into stand-up comedy through ASAP as well and fell in love with it. And for about a year, went pretty decently hard. Got divorced and fell off on that. But it's still in the back of my mind on something that I want to do. As well as COVID happened. So a lot of stages kind of shut down, and you had that happen. So what is your stand-up comedy story? How did you get into it?
Yeah, so I got into it from college. It's funny. One of my friends, I forget, he's a Russian white dude that told me he did stand-up comedy, and they had an open mic at the college, and me and my friends were like, oh, all right, cool. I was like, so you good, right? He's like, yeah. So we went to see him at the mic, and he wasn't all that good.
Okay.
So because we was watching, I was like, you know what? Well, let me try this out, because it's my first time, but I feel like I can at least carry it, and I got a couple laughs, and so it's kind of messed up, because I wouldn't want somebody to be inspired to do comedy off of me like that.
Yeah.
Because that means essentially he wasn't good, and that gave me the confidence. Man, I can do this shit, but yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. I haven't even gotten in contact with that guy to see how he's been, but yeah, he gave me the confidence. So now I'm trying to be so good that no one wants to no one wants to do comedy. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, which is interesting. But yeah,
I like that. I like that. So, whereas in my first mic was pretty much it was an open mic, but it was a safe mic because with the Armed Services Arts Partnership program, when you graduate, so they teach you how to write a joke, like joke structure. And then when you graduate, you have a graduation show. And right now they're partnered with the DC Improv, and there's another place down in DC that they partner with as well. So my first time on a stage in front of people was performing at the DC Improv, but it was people that were more there for the ASAP program, than it was hey, so there's a comedy show. Let me go and check and see what this was. So it was kind of a safe place to do an open mic. But I'll tell you what, my first show, it's up on YouTube. I felt like I did okay, and the greatest compliment didn't come from anybody that came to see me because they were there to support me. I felt like if I bombed, my friends would tell me you sucked, but at the same time, still, offer a little bit of words of encouragement. But the staff that was there at the DC Improv, a couple of the folks came to me like, yo, dude, you're actually funny. Like, you're actually funny, and they get people that come through there that they do comedy for a living. So to have somebody on staff, actually 2 or 3 different people on staff, come up to me and tell me that made me go, maybe I could actually, do this. Now, your first mic, it was just an open mic, right?
Right.
So an open mic is basically where people can just come and sign up and perform. And it's typically anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Did you have jokes prepared for your first mic, or did you just go off the cuff from what you knew about comedy at the time?
I had jokes prepared because seeing what happened to the guy I saw, I didn't want that to happen to me.
Okay.
So I'm big on preparing.
Good.
Just preparing and everything like that. So and you know that from a veteran military standpoint, you prepare. You got to make sure everything is in line. But yeah, I didn't have the confidence to go off the cuff my first time. Nah, I couldn't. I had to jot something, even if it was garbage. I had to jot something down. So but yeah, and I know a lot of great veteran comedians too. I'm not sure if you know Jeff King.
I do.
Me and him like are really really good friends. But yeah, it's I don't know what it is about the military, but it's a lot of cool down to earth comedians that come from that area. And I don't know if it's because you guys have seen so much. You're like, man, you know what? It's so much I can turn into comedy from all my experiences. But it's dope, man. It's dope.
I think part of what it is, and this is what I was telling somebody else the other day, comedy to me helps me get away from the bullshit of life. All right? Now, I think that this is a great segue because this is something that I had told myself I wanted to talk about. Like, with your jokes, is there anything that's off limits for you?
I don't want to say there's anything off limits. The comedian in me wants to say no. We have to consider, like, now that we're in a more sensitive PC environment now. I think society wants to say yes. There are things that are off limits, but I don't. It's a comedian's job to find funny in any situation, even those dark areas that are kind of taboo that make people a little uncomfortable. It's a high for a comedian if he can take something that's not funny and make it funny. That's just like a pat on the back for him because he went past the laser beams. Like in Entrapment when she had to go through all the lasers without getting caught. And like that's what a comedian is kind of doing with, if you sexual assault, you just gotta nail it perfectly. It can't be no low hanging fruit. It has to be like a perfect joke.
I got inspired by a conversation that me and this guy Sean had, and it got me to go upstairs and write this idea down. And I just kind of roughly crafted a joke idea. We were having a conversation in the kitchen, and he said, "Hey man, is it wrong, or why is it that a lot of people that have Down syndrome look the same?" And then we kind of talked about that for a second, right? And then the mind of a comedian, I just started laughing because I thought about all of the different punchlines that I could write off of that. And one of the top things that kind of came back, and I'm like, there's something there, is this one guy fathering all these kids? I'm like, there's something that's there around that, right?
Yeah.
Now, one half of that is you're talking about something that is a very serious condition,
Right.
you know, and depending on your perspective of it, you know, either you can find that funny or you can find that insulting,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I struggled with, if I ever get back on a mic, saying that joke, because I think that when I craft that joke and craft it to the way that I want it to, I think it's funny. But at the same time, I got a regular daytime job. I can't be out here getting canceled for stuff that I say on the mic that then gets online.
Yeah.
And then now you got cancel culture coming after me. So I struggle with those jokes sometimes that may be crossing the line. Have you ever gotten up on stage and you had this joke that you're like, man, I want to get this out. I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. And how did it work?
Yeah, I had a couple of jokes like that. You know, with every joke, there's always a risk that it's not going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite comedians of all time is Patrice O'Neal, who just had a documentary come out called "Killing Is Easy."
No
so
kidding.
If anybody wants to see that on Comedy Central, I watched it yesterday. Actually, it was great. But he said good jokes and bad jokes have the same birth, and you don't know what's going to be funny or not until you try it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about progress over perfection. One of the things you learn in comedy is you have to fail forward.
Yeah.
Meaning you're going to know what works and what doesn't work, like from the feedback you get, of course. But just you got to take the stuff that works with you. The stuff that doesn't work, you have to either trash it or try to take it back to the lab and like rework it. But yeah, I've had some jokes that I've tried out that were a little rough, but I like dark humor too, which is which is good and bad for me. But I had a Down syndrome joke that I did at my mic that really landed well.
Nice. That's funny, man. I didn't know that. Even just kind of talking about it.
I
now.
I can share it. I don't know if you want me to share it or not. But
absolutely share. This is open, man. Come on, let's hear it.
Here's the fun. Let me prerequisite with this. King is dope because he takes. I send a lot of my material to him for feedback, and the funny thing about that is like you have to be able to receive honest feedback about your jokes, because some of them are not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And to a comedian, every joke is kind of like a baby. And sometimes, King, I need you to tell me my baby's ugly.
Yeah.
So I know what to do. Like,
yes,
everyone ain't cute. I need to know which one is ugly. So, but the joke was, I read this article about this professional football athlete that dated a mentally impaired woman.
Okay.
And she said it was her first relationship and his first down. And that's so, and it's one of those things where people are like, oh, and sometimes you can say something without hitting it right on the head. Like, you know what I mean? So there's ways you can do it without, being too, be subtle. Sometimes you can be subtle without, being offensive. So, yeah.
How often do you practice your jokes outside of mics?
Because I do I guess because of the whole COVID thing, it's been tough to practice if it's not a Zoom mic, or an open mic. It's really not a lot going on right now. I think things are starting to slowly pick up with the mics, but for the most part, I have to just do a lot of writing, and then the next time I can do a mic, just try a lot of new material content. So,
Got you.
I wish I could just if I wanted to, go out every day, but with Maryland is not a comedy hub where you can kind of do that. But I think we have a lot of strong comedians in this area. I think like Baltimore in itself is a very underrated area as far as comedy. When you think of comedy, you think of New York, L.A., Texas. So yeah.
Have you ever gone and traveled specifically for comedy, or do you have any stories of you were out and about, outside of the DMV area, saw that there was a mic, and just got up on stage, man, and did your thing?
Yeah, I did a stand up NBC competition in Nashville.
Ooh,
And
with the big boys and girls.
yeah, and it was pretty cool. It just a line of comedians around the block just trying to audition to get this opportunity, and I didn't realize that all of the comedians were going to be the audience members.
Yeah.
And if you know about performing for comedians, it's a different audience than a regular audience.
Speak on that for a second. I mean, you know what? Now, actually, I'll jump in on that.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, because what I find is that I can hear a joke, and it's if you study stand-up comedy and understand joke form, sometimes you can have a joke that'll make you laugh out loud, and it's a good belly laugh. And those are the ones that comedians, like, when they get that energy, it's like, oh, boom, all right, let me hit it with something else. There are those other jokes that are just clever, and they're really good, that when I hear it, I won't give a belly laugh,
Right.
but in my head, I'll nod and like, respect. That is a clever, really good joke. And sometimes when you're up on the stage, you can see that. You can see where even if and it's more if it's an audience full of comedians, that when they nod, kind of like, oh yeah, it's like, okay, like that's that nod of approval of a really good joke. And that's the difference when you're performing in an audience of comedians, versus people that are there to be strictly entertained. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's a big difference. Just a big difference. And normally the difference is with comedians, if you want to try to get those big laughs, it's going to be more difficult because they've seen a lot.
Yep.
If I try to dunk to impress LeBron James, I'm not going to do anything that he's like fascinated by, because he's seen everything. He's done everything. So that's kind of how I equate it to, like, if we're both students in comedy, the way we view it is different than somebody just getting off work just wants to laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a different energy. But when I went to this audition, I got so upset because I wasn't able to get through. But a guy got through, and his whole act was just doing Michael Jackson dances. And it infuriated me because they had people from Jimmy Fallon, like producers and everything there. And I was like, he didn't say one joke. He just danced the whole time. And I like physical comedy. I like it when there's a balance with it. But I laugh because sometimes comedians, when they don't have anything to talk about, they'll just dance on stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen it a bunch. But yeah, I'm good now. But I had a moment. I had a moment where I had my hard work notes, and I'm like this. I could have did that and got through, but yeah. So that's just my little depressed moment.
Any funny on the road stories that have happened to you doing stand-up comedy?
I will say I did a show, and the time I did the show was when Fergie did that. You remember when she did that awful national anthem?
Yeah, trash.
She was
trash.
So somebody was like, "Hey, what do you want your intro music to be?" I was like, "I wanted to be Fergie running the national anthem." So I came out, and first of all, that anthem is like 5, maybe 6 minutes. So I literally sat there and waited for the whole thing to play, and then came out on stage. that wasn't the funny thing. The funny thing was after the show, I got paid in eggs.
Okay, like eggs in a carton, eggs fresh from the
They
farm.
were in
eggs?
a carton. They were in a carton. It would have been messed up if he just gave me individual eggs and I had to put them in my pocket. But a carton, like a dozen eggs, and they were all different colors. I like you tell I ain't been on the farm or none because I thought all eggs were either white or brown. I saw some different shades.
Yo,
That made me nervous. I'm like, can I eat these eggs? But yeah, I got paid in eggs for one show. And I will never forget that. Yeah, that was very, very interesting. There was another time where I did a show in Frederick, actually here in Frederick. I think it's called Cafe Luna or something, in the downtown district.
Okay.
And after the show, this guy bought me a drink because he said I did a really good job, and I felt weird about it because I never had another dude buy me a drink.
Okay.
Before,
yeah.
So I felt so weird because he got me 2 of them, and I'm holding them like I got breast in my hands, like I don't know what to do with these, and I was like, oh, this is, but his heart, he was trying to compliment me, like, yo, good job, but I wasn't used to it, so I was like, oh, normally I do this for the ladies, but
yeah.
So it was weird, man, but it was cool, the people will let you know, they'll keep it real with you. And let you know, like you said about the staff at the DC Improv, if they've seen all types of comedy, but they're like, yo, you got something, believe them, because they don't got no reason to lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's sometimes why I hate bringer shows. Have you done?
I've never done a bringer show because I don't know a lot of people like that I could convince to show up with me. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's got lives, man, and they're busy. So I don't want to bother people to come, to this show.
And I've done bringer shows. I really hate them, but it's a necessary evil sometimes.
Yeah.
But I like to make people laugh that I don't know. I'm sometimes jealous when I go to an open mic. There'll be a female comedian there, and she'll have her support team there to cheer her on and laugh. And I get so jealous of it because with men we are so lone wolf when it comes to this comedy. It's just us up there, and I see her friends laughing at, and ironically nobody else is laughing at the joke but her friends. So it's like weird, but we don't have that. And for us, we got to make people laugh. We don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know our names, but I think that makes you stronger though, because now they don't have no reason. I want my mama to laugh because it's funny, not because that's my boy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's weird. Sometimes that's how it is with family. They just like, yo, we got you. But you need that uncle that be like, that boy, that was terrible. That was like, don't quit your job. You need that honest friend. So.
If you're in the comedy game enough, you will bomb. You hear all major's the right word, all famous comedians talk about that as well. My first time bombing was about my 6th or 7th mic in, and I almost said, fuck this. This is not fun anymore. And it was just off of one time, man. Tell us about the first time that you bombed and like how you felt about it afterwards.
Yeah. That was man. Every time I think about this story, so my first bomb was weird because I brought a friend during the show I bombed at.
So did I. It's like, it was the first one,
which is so worse. It's like, one thing I always recommend, if you're dating a female and you want to take her someplace, don't take her to an open mic if you're just starting, because you're not sure how it's going to turn out, if you're going to do good or bad. And that might make things awkward for you two moving forward. But to my bomb, I invited my friend, and this was an Apollo style show.
Okay.
Now we already know when I say Apollo, we kind of know what that means with that. My bomb was weird because I started off good, and then it went to bad.
Ooh.
I did 2 jokes. The first joke did well. And that's what messed me up, because now I had the confidence, like, yeah, I got this. And then the second joke, it was like, nah. And I felt it was in an auditorium, so it was a lot of black people there. And, you know, black people can bomb you like nobody else. Like, I looked in the corner and I seen the Sandman putting his jacket on to get ready to come out, and I was like, good Lord, man. And, like, you know, black people will make a step routine to tell you are trash. Like,
Oh yeah.
will. So it was rough. And then I made the mistake when they were trying to figure out the winner. I made the mistake of going back out like I was a part of it.
No, you didn't. No.
I went back out like I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You're trash. You go back. So I had to go back through the curtain. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna just die back here now.
Man.
So yeah, man, and I think after that, man, I was just like, man, you know what? Like, I gotta get it together. So
How long did you stay off of mics? Because for me, I literally was like, I don't know if I want to do this again. I didn't touch another mic for like a month. A month.
Yeah.
And I was consistently every week doing about 2 a week. And then I bombed and was like, nope, not doing this anymore. How long was it for you until you had got back on?
I think it took me about a week.
Okay.
I went straight home. I didn't stay I was like, let me just drive on home, because I don't want people walking past me, oh, that's the dude that did trash on the stage. So yeah, I left, and I was like, man, I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe this ain't it. But then you find out that the greats bombed too. Like you said, everybody bombed. And I heard Jamie Foxx had his moments where he did bad, but then he got on that keyboard and brought him back.
Yeah.
And so it's everybody has a point where they'll bomb or fail, but you just gotta get back up again, man.
How do you start crafting a joke? Walk the audience through the idea of a joke and how you build it, your routine, your method.
So for my method, I do a lot of reading. I'm not sure who said this quote, but I think somebody said, part of being a stand-up comedian is you have to be interesting, like, and then be funny. So for me, I do a lot of reading because I think there's a lot of interesting, material that you can pull from. And like one of the jokes I had was about adoption, and I read this article where it said that black babies cost less to adopt than other racial groups.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like the idea, and that's something that bothered me, because I'm like, man, that's kind of messed up. Like, and now I want to read and understand why that is. And then I started thinking about it. And it's kind of like, how Dr. Dre digs through the crates when he's trying to produce like a song or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to dig for the gems in it. So the first part of that joke I did was I said, if I see a white woman in the grocery store with an adopted black baby, I don't know if she's a good person or if she's on a budget. Right.
Yo.
And that's
I like that.
That's playing on the whole idea of black babies cost less. So do you want the baby because you want the baby, or is that all you could afford? Right.
Budget baby.
Right, a budget baby. So now I'm looking at it like, now I'm looking at all these like white female actors that used to work, but now they like, so Catherine, like, Angelina Jolie, everybody, they're adopting these like black and brown babies, and I'm not sure if that's a sign that their career is over or not. You know what I mean? Like,
and you can keep going,
and I can keep
that.
going on it. So it's sometimes you just gotta take an idea and you can exaggerate too. Uh-huh. Exaggeration sometimes is good, but just try to push it. Keep pushing the idea. And it might be something. And the joke expanded too. That was just one part of it, but I went way further with it. I was talking about what if I said Chinese babies are the easiest to adopt. That's another component. So now we got black babies are the cheapest, Chinese babies are the easiest. So, and I said I wouldn't mind adopting a Chinese baby, and I would name him Chicken Wing. And I said if we were in that same grocery store and we wouldn't look like we're together. If he was my son, it would look like he's following me to make sure I don't steal nothing out the store.
Yo.
And that's like a black Korean store joke, like, like that hurry up and buy it, So it's, like you can really expand an idea. It's kind of like when you have a wet rag, you want to just wring it for everything you can find in it. But it's it takes work. Writing is a muscle. And I like misdirection too. I think a lot of the stuff I send you too. I send King so much stuff, man. He probably got like a good chunk of my act in his phone. But yeah, I like misdirection jokes a lot. I think one of my first misdirection jokes was I talk about how I was a bad kid. I was a badass kid, and I used to clean the toilet with my dad's toothbrush. And I talk about how my mom was mad, and she was like, "Oh, you wait till your father gets home." And then he gets home, and we watch him use the toothbrush together. And that's the misdirection in it, because it's supposed to be like he beat my ass, but the mom was like, "No, we're gonna watch him use his toothbrush." So like it's it's kind of like I compare it to being a magician. You know what I mean? You want to make sure they don't see the trick, because if they do, then they're not going to be impressed by it.
Have you ever started with a punchline first and then wrote to the joke something that you're like, man, I know this is funny and I can't get this out of my head, but I don't have it in joke form yet?
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely I guess that's kind of like a way of I guess working backwards, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely I don't do it typically, but I have done that before. Trying to think of a particular one where I've done that, but I think one of the most recent ones was I was recently going to get some eye contacts, and I thought, like, what would I rename them? And I said I would call them eyeball yarmulkes.
Eyeball yarmulkes. Oh, from the covering the eyelids. Yeah.
So I was like, it's a stupid thing to call them, but I was like, how can I go from something to that? And I found a way to lead into it. But sometimes the way you describe things is funny. Like words. I talked about, like, if I die, I don't want my information to be like on a paper at a funeral. I want it to be on the cereal box, like, and you can call it Honey Obituaries.
Nice. I like that.
See, it's playing on that. It's playing on those words, and then I have my face with the bowl on the front, and then fun facts on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then I say, like, every morning I can watch my family eat out my box, and it would be great. You know what I mean? So
that right there, and then even go back. I'm still thinking about the eyeball yarmulkes. That's good. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah. It's because with black people too, we can describe things like nobody else.
Yeah.
We create the slang, the terms. We are the ones that make things cool. So yeah, it's kind of what we do, man. Like, we wouldn't have Fleek or all these things if it was, I don't know. It's just that's what we do with language. We kind of make it cool. So
let me kind of pivot a bit, but still kind of keep it on the subject. Has comedy helped with the ladies? Are you married, dating? Like, what's that situation?
So yeah, I am married. Which is funny. We was talking about the whole relationship stuff earlier, but now I am married. It's interesting. You do get more attention if you're good and you have a look. It's funny because some people would be like, well, Aunt, you don't look like a comedian, and I kind of get what they're saying. I don't know what a comedian looks like.
Yeah, me neither. I'm trying to think like, what is a comedian supposed to look like?
I guess some people feel like if a comedian has to like look funny looking or big or so there has to be a reason why they're doing it. But I don't know, man. It's decent. It's decent, guys, out here doing comedy and everything like that. But I think that's good because if I don't look like a comedian, maybe that's more surprising when I go up there.
Got you.
Be like, oh, okay, he don't look like the comedian type. I got the Killmonger whole do and everything like that. I look woke. I don't look like I look like I do poetry slams or something. But
is it important to you, and this is specifically to you in your relationship, is it important to have your spouse support you in what you're doing? Does she ever come out and watch, or is that just your baby?
She sometimes she will come to the shows to show support, which I do appreciate. For the open mics, I normally don't like for her to be at those all the time because that's really me working out new material. I think an open mic is kind of like a workout room.
Yeah.
So, and when you do like a show or a showcase, that's where you can kind of flex your muscles. But you got to build them at the open mic where you try new jokes out or try to perfect the jokes that you've been working on. But yes, for certain shows here and there, she'll pop through them, and I have to make sure I do good.
Do you ever practice your jokes with her?
Yes,
okay.
And believe she's a very tough audience. She's tough. It'd be a joke I think is going to kill, and she'll be like, "Oh, okay." I'll be like, "Damn, oh, like that's not what I want." All right, now I gotta work on that one. So, but if she laugh at it, I'm like, "Yeah, that's it."
So you've gotten paid in eggs. What's the most that you ever made during a show?
During the show, about say about 100 for a show, and I think that was actually for competition. That was for like the Magoobies competition in Timonium, Maryland. I'm sure you've heard of that. Have been up there.
Yep. I am aware of that place, and I was actually going to go there last night. Eddie Griffin is performing this weekend. They were sold out for Friday and Saturday night, and the Thursday show still had tickets. But with the weather and everything, I was kind of like, and it didn't show that it was canceled because of the weather. But I didn't want to buy and then it get canceled, and then it's a hassle getting a refund. So I just didn't end up going. But Eddie Griffin's going to be down there, man, this weekend. And I've always wanted to see him perform live, and I might miss the opportunity. So,
wow. Eddie Griffin he's good, man. I saw last time I was there, I saw Godfrey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Godfrey, but
he was there 2 weeks ago.
Man, he's awesome. I got a little jealous because one of my friends was able to host for him, and I was like, man,
nice.
I wish I had that spot because I follow him so much and I know his style, and man, but he killed it, man. And he does impressions, and he's just such a well-rounded comedian. So yeah,
I found that comedians can be extremely helpful if you just approach them on that kind of tip. I have approached Carlos Miller when he was down at the DC Improv, and a couple of the comedians that he had with him, and I was just asking him questions about comedy, and that particular night, like, we sat and chopped it up for maybe about 5-10 minutes, just talking, comedy and going to shows and different things like that. And the other time that I had approached a comedian after a show just to talk about, stand up and ask for advice, I found that unless they have if you catch them on that last show, you can't catch them because if they're coming and they're doing 2 shows, they're getting done with one show and having to prep for that second show. But if you catch them after that last show, if it's not too late, I found that if you go up and say, hey man, I do stand up comedy, I've just kind of gotten into it, whatever. Any advice for me? A lot of comedians will sit there and talk your head off about comedy. And I find that fascinating. I find that fun. And that's one of the things I like about the comedian community. Now, in my case, I've been 2 for 2 in doing that. I'm pretty sure that if I were to try to do it, I might catch somebody one night, that might go, yeah, that's trash. But I shared all of that to lead into this. One of my best moments doing stand-up comedy was I reached out to this guy who was doing a show out in Martinsburg. And I said, hey, I know a mutual friend was just wondering if I could ping your brain about comedy, because this guy travels and performs comedy for work, right? And he reached back out to me because, I also sent my DC Improv video to him, you know, just to show him like who I am and kind of what my style is. What he wrote back was unexpected. He said, hey, I think you're funny. Do you want to open for me? And I'm like, yes. At the time, I'm like, holy crap, I've never done that. I didn't know what the audience was going to be. That particular set was crafted more for military. But at the time, I was writing both like, this is my set around veterans and that community, and this is my set around, and I'm doing air quotes, the urban community. And this is my set for everybody in general, because I had just gotten into it. So I had like 5 minutes for those 3 different sectors. So then I show up to the show, I meet everybody. All of the comics are, everybody's different and funny in their way.
Right.
And I was expecting to be the warm-up guy, the open guy. He then changes up the script and go, hey, I'm going to have you go before not the headliner. Who's the guy prior to the headliner?
The feature.
The feature. He said, I'm going to have you go before the feature. I'm like,
Before the feature. Okay.
Well, it's headliner's the main guy, right?
So it's normally opener, feature, and then headliner.
Headliner, yeah. So I went, it was 5 comics total, the headliner, feature, and then 3 guys, two other guys that he knew. And then I was the 3rd.
Gotcha.
So he had the first 2 guys go up, and then me, and then I went up before the feature. Okay. And I did good, man. It's good, man. And at the time, I had a date with this one other lady who I met through Bumble, and I had told her about it, not really expecting her to show up because it wasn't near where she lived. Yeah. And not only did she show up, but she brought like a family member and that person's husband. So I'm like, oh crap. Yeah. This is not what I expected to go, but I'm glad I actually did really damn good, you know. So then I get back to the table feeling like the man. You know what I'm saying?
When you do well, man, man, can't nobody tell you nothing, man. You like, you that dude, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, Anthony, thanks for coming on and doing my podcast, brother. Are you out there on social media? Is there any place that you've got your comedy that you like for people to come and check out?
Yeah. So on social media, you can follow me at I Write Comedy. That's WRIGHT Comedy. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. You'll catch me on there writing, a lot of jokes and posting content. I have a show that I need to pick up on.
Yeah.
But COVID's kind of, made me feel a little lazy, but it's called Black CNN.
Okay.
And I have it on YouTube as well. If you type in I Write Comedy in YouTube, it'll pull up all of my episodes. It's basically like a daily show type thing where I kind of make fun of politics and try to bring some levity to it. So, check it out.
Eyeball yarmulkes. I'm going to be thinking about that all day today. Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming on to my podcast, and this has been an episode of Today in My Life. Deuces.